So guys, this is what we're talking about. This is downtown Pittsburgh. This is where a lot of the commerce and city government happens. A lot of the action, a lot of the young people that want to live in an urban area. They don't want to live in the suburb. They want to be close to the action, close to the bars, close to the entertainment. Well, this is where it all happens. And we've been talking about traffic congestion all morning, and I was at a city council meeting earlier this week where they've talked about different solutions. And this is the city core. This is the beating heartbeat of Pittsburgh, and this is where a lot of the congestion takes place. Now, this is later in the morning, so a lot of the rush hour has already gone by, but you know, if you were here a couple hours ago, you would be amazed at the amount of cars coming into the city, and vice versa. When the afternoon rush hour hits, those same people will be trying to sneak out of work, trying to get home early, maybe stop by the local pub for a cocktail. But it creates, and this is it creates madness, and this is a scene that is duplicated in city after city after city in the United States, and we're in Pittsburgh, but it's indicative of what is going on across the country. So what can be done to alleviate rush hour traffic? Well, in this city council meeting I was at earlier this week, which was jammed with Pittsburgh residents trying to voice their opinion, trying to give ideas, because they opened the floor for ideas. And one of the things people said was that they should have, just to alleviate traffic and cars, they should alleviate the number of people in Pittsburgh. That too many people are in other words, we'd have less traffic congestion if we had less traffic. We'll have less traffic if we had less people driving in the city, meaning less residents. So one suggestion was to have half the people move to Ohio, to ask half the residents of Pittsburgh to move to Ohio, or a similar state, like let's say West Virginia, which is a little closer. So there would be a lottery, I guess, and then you would be asked to pick up and move you and your family to a neighboring state. Well, that's a pretty radical suggestion, guys, but again, in a city like this, was an appealing neighborhood city. This is not a showbiz town. Okay, these are real people, real neighborhoods. They're looking to maintain that quality of life, guys. So that one was a little bit controversial, okay, to have half the people move from the city. Somebody said, well, listen, that's pretty radical. We want people to live, work, and play in Pittsburgh. We just have too many cars. So how about we fly people around town in a limited test of whirlybirds? And now whirlybird is like a helicopter, but it's a lightweight plane. It's almost like an ultralight, and it can take up to 1,000 pounds. So depending on how much your family has had to eat, and the body structure, if you're taller, you're gonna have more body weight, right? Just because your body mass is bigger. And maybe you had too many crullers or donuts, or at lunch, you know, maybe you put on too many slices of cheese, okay? Or when you were at the build your salad place, you were trying to eat healthy, but then they said, do you want fries on your salad? And you said yes. Okay, so maybe you're carrying a little more body weight than you normally would. Well, you know, your family, it just depends on the number of people in your family, their overall weight, because these whirlybirds can handle maybe up to 1,000 pounds. So, you know, if you're a smaller family and you can all fit in there under the pound weight, the limit, then that's great. But think about it, if you're a bigger person and maybe you have more members in your family, well, you could have to get maybe 2 whirlybirds, maybe 3 or 4, depending on if you get visitors from out of town or if you just got a larger family. So there's a lot of details being worked out, but these are small helicopters that would fly around the city and fly you to different parts of Pittsburgh. So like, here's a building right here, that's kind of tall and skinny. They would pick you up in the top of that building probably. A lot of those details have to be worked out. Or maybe here at Duquesne University, they have that flat top of that building that pick you up. Maybe you get out of your biology class, you didn't understand a word they were saying right inside the class, and you're thinking about dropping biology, which you were only taking as part of pre-med, and you were only taking pre-med because your grandfather was a doctor, your father was a doctor, and everybody looked at you like, hey, doctor, since you were 7 years old. They're like, hey, doctor, but you never really wanted to be a doctor. Okay, and so maybe you're coming to the realization that really what you want to do is design shopping store windows, okay, for Macy's, and you want to give up the doctorate. So maybe that's the case. Well, okay, so those are things you can think about when you're in the whirlybird. See, that's the thing. You don't even have to drive. Well, guys, I know these are crazy. Let's be honest. These are crazy ideas, but Pittsburgh has always been on the cutting edge of looking for ways to make life in the city better. Okay, Pittsburgh is not. That's the thing. They don't have to answer to anybody. Who does Pittsburgh have to answer to? Pennsylvania? Come on. Pittsburgh is its own person. The people in Pittsburgh reflect the personality of this city, and vice versa. And it's always been a blue collar town, a working town. A town that stands their ground. So they don't have to prove anything to anybody in Pittsburgh. What, Philadelphia? You think Pittsburgh has to prove what they do or the ideas they come up with to Philadelphia, of all places? No. No. People in Pittsburgh are going to do the things that are right for Pittsburgh. Let's get that straight right now, okay? So if you have ideas, if you're in Pittsburgh, or even if you're visiting Pittsburgh, you're a friend of the city, you love the city like I do, come to the city council meeting, guys. They're open to the public a lot of times. Make sure you call first or find out first. They're not all open. And then stand up there and tell them your crazy idea. Like I didn't get a chance to get up there, but I said, look, I've been around. I've lived in the big city. I live in Los Angeles that has congestion out the wazoo. I live it every day. I breathe it. I know it. Okay, it's part of my bloodstream. It's in my cells. I know how to solve some of these problems, but I don't know if it's a little too radical for you. And the guy said, well, let's hear it, dude. I mean, you're here from California. You might as well just spill the tea, he said. And so in front of it, I don't know, there's probably 400 or 500 people in this room. They're all spilling out the exits, spilling out the people hanging in the windows. I said, all right, well, here's a crazy one. All right. So you have too many cars at specific times of the day. Let's say 6 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 7 p. or even 4 to 8 p. Would that be a reasonable time estimate? He said, yes. I said, look, you gotta move the rush hours themselves. You tell people you can't come to work from 9 to 5 anymore. You gotta work a double shift, a double 4-hour shift. You have them work 10 to 2 and you have them work 8 to midnight. Guys, that's the thing. You have too many people driving into work at the same time. When did 9 to 5 become the work day? Okay? For somebody like me, I'm always on the job. I'm always thinking of comedy ideas. Okay? I'm a comedy idea machine. So I don't have a commute. But if you guys want to tackle this problem head on, and I mean with gusto, and I mean with you gotta get committed. And everybody was kind of sitting up in their seats, and a couple of people were coughing, because I was laying it on, man. I was giving them what we call you might have heard the term radical candor. But one thing I found is that Pittsburgh wants radical candor. This is a blue collar town. They grew up it's a reality based town. This isn't a land of foo-foo and dreams. Okay, like in Los Angeles of unicorns and unicorn and sugar plums. This is a town of grit, of steel. So, you know, I'll be honest with you guys. I got a standing O for my idea to shift the whole rush hour concept itself. So will they do it? Will they take action? I don't know, because it's hard. Behavior is harder to change than it is to come up with ideas. But guys, they were open to the idea. Don't you see? Pittsburgh was open to my idea, as they will your idea. So if you have idea, come down to the meeting and let's hear it.